You funny?
I am funny.
Nice.
Hey team, welcome back to episode 14. So that's 14 weeks that we've been together, which is pretty crazy. This is the 15th video actually, because there was a part 2 series. So I sat down today and went through everything we've been talking about recently, especially in the chatter group, trying to decide on the topic of today's video. I read through some of the messages you guys have sent me on Patreon, on Instagram, and even on Telegram. And I had to read through the chatter group. I went back for a few days and actually read through all the messages, trying to decide on what tonight's topic was going to be. And then I thought, I'll cover some of the common trends or topics that you guys have been discussing. So today we're going to talk about conversion from reach to followers. We're going to talk about branding and networking and that kind of thing. Ultimately, the foundation that's required for you to grow on Instagram. But sticking true to the format, we'll take a look at the news first. Quite a few of you actually received an in-app notification within around the last week or so, maybe the last 2 weeks, stating that Instagram are removing inauthentic likes and follows and prompting users to change your password and revoke any access you've given to third-party apps and the like. I've had 3 or 4 of you, I think, message me about this, and I did some research myself and found that quite a few users have been hit with this. While Instagram have been working against automation for a long time, it does appear that they're actually increasing the amount of effort they're putting into cleaning out the platform, which is both good and bad for us. So I'm curious to see how that pans out. Also, Project Daisy, the experiment around hiding like counters and whatnot. I've done a little bit more information gathering on that, a little bit more research. I have heard from a few of you that they had finished the test, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's just sort of like on a per user basis. So it's not everyone in Canada, it's only selected accounts. Essentially, the way the test is running is that selected accounts have had their like counter hidden to their audience. But this only affects people in Canada. So Canadian residents can't see the counter, but people that live in America can. So say I lived in Canada, I could always see my own like counters, but my audience that live in Canada couldn't see my like counter. However, my audience that lived in America or Australia can see my like counter. So it's only impacting people that live in Canada. And I found this really interesting. I was thinking, why would they want to run a test like this? Why a specific geographical region, and why allow visibility to users outside of that region? I would understand if they restricted likes on everyone who lives in Canada, but then why allow people in America and Australia to see those like counters? I was trying to figure it out today. And I believe what they're doing is measuring how Canadian residents engage or interact with those posts compared to the rest of the world. So I think what they'll be doing is taking a measurement, for example, Canada's average engagement rate against these posts versus America's average engagement rate, to try and gauge a before and after of implementing that change. Because obviously they'll be able to see the engagement rate that Americans had before and after the change, and that shouldn't change. That should stay about the same because they don't see any difference. But the people in Canada will see that the like counters have been hidden. So measuring their before and after engagement rates, there should be some difference there if it was to cause a difference. So I think what they're doing is measuring the impact of that change based on geographical region, and it makes sense. I personally believe that the change would almost certainly require adjustments to the algorithm. So I've been reading on Reddit and Black Hat World, and I've been seeing all these wildly varying reports from people. Some saying that their engagement has halved, and then on the other side of the spectrum, people saying that their engagement and their reach has quadrupled since the like counters have been hidden. So I think the reason that they're so varying, those reports, is that they're probably making changes to the algorithm to account for the difference. And I'd say that's what they're experimenting with and why they're doing it per region and whatnot. Mind you, this is all purely speculation, but it's the only real explanation I can come to. And I think it's a likely one, having heard and read about this, similar experiments they've done before. As always, fills me with confidence that Instagram know what they're doing, and they're doing what they deem to be best for the platform. And personally, I hope the outcome of this whole test is positive, because I think it would be a positive change for Instagram and the platform in general. Usually I jump into questions now, but I haven't got any really juicy ones. So I might skip questions today. But if you have anything you would like answered, please send it through to me, because the ones that I do have, I'm kind of saving for future videos. And they don't benefit everyone. I'm trying to cover things that would benefit all of my patrons. I have some of you on here in specific niches or specific businesses that wouldn't benefit from knowing how to obtain sponsorships, for example. So I'm saving those to a little bit later. So let's jump straight into today's topic, which is a bit of a mixed one. Initially, I was going to talk about how to convert reach to engagement. specifically. So a lot of you have improved your content or you've improved your hashtagging, and you're seeing a lot of additional reach on your posts, and not just your posts, but your overall account analytics, which is great. But you're also struggling to convert that reach to following. So I know a lot of you have gained a lot of reach on your posts, and your posts are reaching a lot more people, but you're not necessarily gaining more followers, or some of you are. I've seen varying results. But quite often in the chatter group, I've also seen that people are forgetting that we're dealing with real people here. So I see you guys, not all of you, but some of you implementing changes and expecting better results immediately, as if we're dealing with like a maths problem or a computer program. And some of us are forgetting that we're dealing with real people here that are really sitting on their mobile phones, just like you and me. So I want to start by talking about why people use Instagram. So Instagram's founder, Kevin Systrom, majored in symbolic systems at Stanford, which is like a field that lies at the intersection between psychology and computer science. There's many articles and studies out there that claim Instagram is actually addictive, similar to gambling. And this isn't by accident, this is by his design. So Instagram was built to be easy to use and to reward users immediately for using the application. Through things like improved looking photos, through the use of filters, and validation through return engagement and acceptance of your posts on the platform. Instagram has really become an intimate social network that people continue to open every single day. People around the world are making the conscious decision every single day to open the application and to actually look at your photos. It's become a place that people construct and manage their identities, gather inspiration, and escape from their everyday life. And that just sounds like a bunch of pretty words, like I just wrote this today. But if you actually think about it, it is true. Like think about your partner or my girlfriend, the way she uses her feed. If I sit and watch her on Instagram, she's looking at the destinations she wants to visit, the people she wants to be like. Those words are actual truth. Am I wrong?
No.
You're dead right.
So right.
So one of the reasons for this is Instagram's visual nature. Humans prefer to gather and interpret information through sight, which is why visual marketing is so popular. Instagram appealed to that visual nature that we have. The entire app is built around vision and imagery, and this is the core reason as to why your content is really important. All of this has huge implications on marketing, and it's the reason that Instagram has really turbocharged influencer marketing and advertising. And I find that really interesting, but I'm going to save that for another time. That's a completely separate discussion. The point I'm trying to highlight here is that we're working with real human beings. They're taking time out of their real lives to digest and interact on your content. So motivating them to follow you isn't always as simple as improving your hashtags or gaining additional reach. You're selling them a product, which is you, yourself, your channel. And what I'm helping you do is advertise yourself or advertise that channel. With all of that in mind, and although I always say that content is key, it's more about the value that you bring to the table than your actual content. Average content that inspires engagement and receives interaction from other accounts will perform much better than amazing content that's not receiving any engagement or inspiring anyone. And I run into this problem quite a bit, especially from photographers. They may take amazing photos, their content may be top notch, but they don't offer any value to people. And, through inspiration or through relatability or networking, and their feed ends up looking more like a portfolio than someone you'd want to follow on Instagram. And then their account struggles to get off the ground. That's not to say that a non-personable photography account can't get off the ground, but it does mean that the only thing they bring to the table is content. So your content has to be spectacular. Every single post has to be spectacular. And even then, you've got reduced avenues by which you can provide value. You've really only got your content. So personally, I try and provide value through a number of means, being personable, being inspirational, and also through my content. So to elaborate, I'm personable through like intimate captions I use, replying to every DM and every comment that I get, networking with other people on Instagram, commenting on their photos, taking interest in them and their cars, that kind of thing. I'm also seen as a personable figure, someone that people can relate to. And I often receive messages from people on like their birthday or when they're attending social events, when they're purchasing new car parts. I even got a message from someone recently that had just had their first child, and they messaged me and sent me a photo of it. Like, I'm a personable figure that people can communicate with and relate to. I also attempt to provide inspiration through the content that I create, and the things I've managed to achieve, like the size I've grown to, the brands that I'm working with, that kind of thing. So I try to be an inspirational figure, and that's not something that I have done the whole time. That's something I decided to consciously start doing probably 4 or 5 months ago, and that's also around the same time that I started to bleed in images of myself. Probably standing with me standing on the roof, actually, in the tidy shirt. around that time. And obviously, I try to provide value through my content by providing visually pleasant images, entertaining videos, that kind of thing. So, I mean, we've just gone over three things. The first one being that I'm personable. Second one being that I try to be an inspirational figure. And the third, my content. So I try and provide value through those three avenues. So those are the three main avenues by which I think I provide value, where a pure photography-based account may only provide one avenue, making it more difficult to attract followers because they're providing less value. Think about your own use of the platform, or sometimes I think it's actually better to think about someone who's unbiased, like my partner or a friend who may be in the same niche as me, like a car niche. Take a look at how they use the app, how they use Instagram, and the accounts they're following. And you'll find that the accounts that they follow provide value to them. So throughout my whole Instagram guide, and these videos even, I'm helping you guys with your advertising. I've also tried to help by adding value to your content. Like, we talk about post formatting and aspect ratios, and even a little bit of photography and editing, that kind of thing. But today, I want to give you guys a few methods that you can use to increase your value that aren't related to your content. So I sat down today and thought back to the times when I was trying to grow. So around the time that I was, 5-10K, and what I did to get myself off the ground and to gain notability and to create those relationships and go out and network and all of that kind of thing. At the time, these things weren't part of any sort of strategy. They just came through natural use of the platform. But I thought back today and tried to identify all the things I did and that you guys could replicate to increase your value as potential accounts that people want to follow. And I found most of these things surround networking and being personable, communication, that kind of thing. So the first thing that I recommend you guys doing is socializing with popular accounts in your niche. And again, some of you, this may sound basic too, but a lot of you aren't doing it. If you're a car account, take a look at the top car accounts and take a genuine interest in them. Their content, their lives, their cars, everything. And I mean a real genuine interest. Send them a message, comment on their images, go out and forge an actual relationship with public figures in your niche. And as you build a relationship with these people, you'll find that they begin to reciprocate and eventually they'll follow you back. They may engage or comment on some of your images, which leads to additional reach. It creates a relationship between your account and their followers, and it then makes you eligible to be displayed in their news feeds. Or explore feeds, sorry. Their followers also see you as being socially validated by someone that they already follow and trust. So you're more likely to then have them engage on your content as a result, or to follow you, in fact, because you've been validated by someone they already trust. People want to be like people they already admire and trust. So if you do this with 10 or 20 people, you'll gain 10 or 20 regular commenters on all of your posts. And with that, you'll increase your reach to potentially all of their followers as well. And I guess this is just like basic networking, but I've looked back and identified that I did this with a lot of people. Like I've forged friendships and relationships on Instagram with Supercar Blondie, who's currently sitting at like over 2 million followers, I think. There's even a video of my car on her page. Black Knight M4, Sonic F80, Zoomy, Natalie Roosh, etc. I've even met Supercar Blondie in person. I receive frequent messages from all of these people and plenty more that I've networked with in the past. And they engage on my content regularly. It'd be rare for me to post an image and not have all of these people like my content. And that's only really a small glimpse at the number of people that I network with. So like I said, at the time, this sort of felt like second nature. It wasn't part of any strategy, but it is a genuine strategy for growth that I feel like you guys could go and replicate. And then from there, you can take it further. So begin engaging with their followers. Once you've built up a relationship with them, go and look at the comments on their posts and actually engage with the people who are engaging with them. And then just by liking their comments or by going and checking out their photos, liking and commenting on their photos, and you're just getting into a cycle here where the first 10 or 20 people you do this to, you're then eligible to be seen by all of their followers. And then when you do it to their followers, you're then eligible to be seen by their followers, and so on and so forth. It's just creating a massive web of relationships, basically. Not only is this networking building a community, but you're also being benefited by the algorithm for actively participating and engaging on the platform. And you're also increasing your inadvertent reach by gaining additional visibility or notability. And you're gaining social validation as well from already validated entities. Speaking of inadvertent reach, actually, think about ways you can increase your own visibility. So I comment on every single one of NASA's posts for this exact purpose. Often my comments receive, hundreds of likes, comments, and I'm confident each one of those people would go and check out my profile just because they've gone and commented on one of my posts. if I had more time to be doing this, I should be doing it on many more pages than NASA, to be honest. I mean, I try and do it on automotive pages as well, people that I follow, that kind of thing. But if I had unlimited time, I would go out and leave these comments on every notable page that I knew of. And the inadvertent reach you would receive from that would be massive, massive, massive. And these are the kind of things that I was doing daily while I was growing. So there's plenty of accounts out there that provide similar content to mine, but my account brings more value to my followers than most of those accounts with similar or even better content than me. I put in more work than a lot of those people that just share great imagery, and I think people reward me by following me for that. So I'm going to cut it there for tonight. We're pretty close to the 20-minute mark, just because I'm starting to ramble a bit. But I have provided you guys with a couple of methods you can use to increase your reach and begin improving your networking on Instagram. I truly believe that networking, marketing, and providing more value is crucial to your growth on Instagram. A good example, actually, NZXT. So NZXT are renowned for their social media because whoever runs, particularly their Twitter account, is super active, participating and engaging in like social trends and things that are going on, sharing memes, replying to photos they're tagged in, and even just participating in conversations and stuff. They're renowned just for their networking and their personability as a big brand, which is very uncommon. I can't even recall any of the actual content they've shared, like any of the imagery they've shared. I can't even think of any off the top of my head. But they network so well that they've made a name from NZXT just from that networking. Thank you guys again for being here. Thank you for sticking around for another month. I really appreciate it. If you've got any questions you want answered or videos or things you want me to cover, topics you want me to cover in upcoming videos, send them through to me on Patreon. I haven't, again, decided on next week's video yet. So if there's anything you're burning to know, let me know and I'll cover it for you. Thank you guys. See you next week.